What's up, YouTube? It is Thursday, June 6th. There are only 10 games in baseball to talk about today. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, because we are still cooking over here. We are on fire. Plus 5.13 units, 7-5. We did hit a nighttime money line parlay to get that number there. For the last 7 days, almost 10 units of profit. Last month, almost 40 units. Now, this trend is not going to continue forever. If you think, oh, this dude's on fire, he never misses, wrong. This is betting. We're going to have red days. Now, I haven't had many in the past month, but they are happening. They will come. Trust me, they're there. If this was easy, everyone would do it, and Vegas wouldn't have all those shiny buildings out there. So it's going to happen, but we're going to ride the wave while we have it. We're going to try to keep green. Green's good. We don't care what that number is. We want to see green. So yesterday, parlay, big parlay almost hit, plus 2,200. If Houston didn't mess it up, it would have been so good. We did, however, still hit the smaller parlays. I did a daytime one with the day games and a nighttime one with the night games. Nighttime did well. Houston, Atlanta didn't do well. Either way, still great. We love seeing green. I don't care if it's 0.001. We want to see green. So go ahead, like, subscribe again, and let's jump into that first game today. First game, we got Baltimore, Toronto. We got Kikuchi, and it's 3-6-6 going up against a newbie. Score app doesn't even know who he is. His name, Cade Povich. Never pitched before. That's a fun one. Betting markets think it's a pick'em though. No lean either way. Over under 8.5 with some little bit of juice on that under. Data wise, the main thing we look at on a Baltimore road game is the Nerfy. 83.46 chance of hitting because Baltimore has increased their Nerfy odds to 96.3 when they're on the road. And Toronto still hasn't scored a run in the first inning in over a month now. So they're almost 87%. I wish these two teams could play each other every single day of the year because they've hit it 3 games in a row now. So we're rocking with the Nerfy. I don't care who's pitching. You could pitch. I could pitch. We're taking the Nerfy. It doesn't matter. Anyways, Baltimore offense 6.3 for 4th right now in the past 3 games. Toronto only 2 runs a game. They're struggling. They're 26. Baltimore 16th at 240 on average. 220 for Toronto. Not much of an advantage. 6.3 strikeouts to 6. Again, not much of an advantage. You can see the only advantage here is the Baltimore offense is getting runs, getting dudes home. That's all that matters. Looking at the pitching, Kikuchi is getting roughed up in his last couple starts. Dude has been getting tagged 5 earned runs against Pitt, 5 earned runs against Detroit. He's struggling. I don't know if he's going to come back from it. We don't know. So now we look over at Povich, nothing. There ain't nothing there because he's never pitched. And when around here, if you're new here, when we have new pitchers, unless his name is Paul Skeens, we fade all new pitchers. That's just what we do here. So this game is very hard to cap because we don't know anything about him. And Kikuchi is trash in the last couple games. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take the over 8.5 in this one because I'm going to bank on Baltimore's offense getting to Kikuchi and getting some runs there. And I think Toronto, even though their offense is trash right now, 220 average with 2 runs a game, they're going to get to dude in his first major league game of the year. Yeah, I'll take that odds. So we'll take the over 8.5. We'll take the Nerfy. We will not take a side. We don't know what's going to happen here. Just take those things and move on to the next game. Next up, we got Kansas City and Cleveland. We got Singer with a 2.63 and BB with a 3.74. Betting markets, Cleveland, decently heavy favorite at home. 7.5 total with some juice on that over. Data says Nerfy, 54.7. Not what we're talking about. Both teams, 4.3, no advantage in run scoring. The advantage is KC in the batting average area, 255 versus 194. Cleveland is struggling to hit the ball. They're both striking out 7.7, 7.3, no advantage there. When it comes to pitching, I would say there's not much of an advantage on either side because Singer's a 2.63 with a 1.12, but you can see he don't give up that much. 1.1, 4.11. He's only been tagged 1 time in the whole month of May, and that was against Seattle in 1 game. The other 4, pretty great games. Looking at BB, same story. Great, tagged a little bit by the Angels. Great, tagged a little bit. He's gotten better in his last 4 games. I don't see a real big advantage on either side here. The only thing I have here is Kansas City is better in batting. They're 60 points higher when it comes to swinging the bat. That's all. The only difference we have. There's no strikeout props to look at. There's no Nerfy prop to look at. I could not even begin to do an over-under in this one. This game is going to be a pass. If you want to be a little bit of a degenerate, you might just do a little KC money line, I might do that. It might be like half a unit, maybe. We'll see. I'll think about it. Because other than that, there's nothing points at Cleveland being a 155 favorite here. Nothing. But yet they are for some reason. So what does Vegas know that we don't, right? So yeah, this game's going to be a pass. Maybe a little sprinkle on some KC money line and move on to the next game. Next up, we got Seattle and Oakland. Almost a perfect game for Oakland yesterday. That was wild to watch. But today, we have Wu with a 1-3 against Sears with a 4-0-1. Betting markets have the Mariners as a pretty decently favored on the road. 7.5 your total. No juice either way. Data time, 70.25 on the Nerfy. Now we got something we can talk about. Let's look at the stats to see if we back it up a little bit. Runs a game, 3.3 to 2.0 in the last three. That's 20th and 26th. They're both struggling to score runs. We like that. Looking at the batting averages, 198 for Seattle, 169 for Oakland in the last three games. We like that too. Strikeouts, 7 and 8.7. Nah, nothing really there. But we got terrible batting averages. We got low scoring teams. We got two decent pitchers when we look at the numbers here. Wu is a 1-3 with a .58 whip. The numbers just outside of one game against Washington where 3 runs is a bad game for him. Dude gets it done. You can see the numbers are there. Sears, on the other hand, he is Six Flags. He is the epitome of a roller coaster. This dude is up and down. Great game, 4 runs. Great game, 4 runs. Great game, 4 runs. If he has a great game or 4 runs today, I think this under is going to be in play. So looking at the odds here, we are going to take the Nerfy in this one because of all the data there. The data just screams take this because all the numbers line up here. We have pretty decent pitching on one side, great pitching on the other side. The numbers line up. So Nerfy, we're also going to rock with this under 7.5 in this one. No side, I don't trust Mariners minus 150. We don't know what we're going to happen here because both teams are struggling. So Nerfy, under, next game. Next up, we got the Dodgers and the Pirates. We got Bueller with a 4-3-2, Falter with a 3-2-2. Betting markets have the Dodgers as almost a 200 favorite, which is kind of hilarious. We'll see why in a minute. Over unders 8.5 with some juice on that over. Data time, 51.3 Nerfy. Not worth talking about. Stats, Dodgers 3.3 runs a game for 20th. Pittsburgh 5 runs a game for 10th. Advantage, Pittsburgh. Batting averages, 238 for 18th for Dodgers, 245 for Pittsburgh. It's 11th. It's not much of an advantage, but guess what? It's still an advantage. Pittsburgh. The only main thing here is the strikeouts. Pittsburgh is striking out 11 times a game. They are swinging at everything and missing everything. So let's look at the pitching matchup. Let's see if something stands out there. Bueller has a 4-3-2 and a 1-3-2 whip. Now, he does get a couple 7 strikeout games, so we are going to look at Bueller's K props against Pittsburgh because they're swinging so much. I don't care who's pitching, we're going to look at it. So if it's something decent with some decent juice on it, we'll probably take it. But I don't have that number with me right now. So, but overall, 3-3-3-3. Outside of this Cincy game, he pitched great. He's going to give up 3 runs probably. Looking at Falter, he's kind of the same. He's 3-2-2 with a .95 whip. We're not looking at K props with him because you can see he is definitely not a K pitcher. He had a great game against Toronto. 3-0-2-3. Doesn't give up that many hits. Nothing is screaming LA. Show me something that shows why LA should be favored. Outside of the strikeout for Pittsburgh, I don't see the data here. The numbers are saying Pittsburgh has been scoring lots of runs for the past 2 weeks. They were 5.3, 5.25. They're still in 5s. They're slightly trending the wrong way, but it's still 5s. They're still scoring. LA, they can't get out of the 3s. So we have Pittsburgh, who's going for a sweep, a 3-game sweep in this series too today. So that's another thing to look at. I am going to definitely take the Walker K prop. Walker Bueller K prop. Pittsburgh, I mean, plus 1.5 is still minus 105. I mean, look at that. It's minus 105. I'd probably end up doing that. That seems like a fun one. I might sprinkle a little bit on the money line too, because why not? Plus 155, you're at home and all the data lines up. I don't see why LA should be favored, so we're not going to take that. So sprinkle some money line, Pittsburgh. Probably take the plus 105 run line, and we're going to look at Bueller K props and move on to the next game. Next up, we got Atlanta and Washington. We got Lopez with a 1-7-3 against Parker with a 3-6. Betting markets have the Braves as a heavy favorite at 175. Over under 8.5 with some juice on that over. Data time, 75.8% Nerfy in this one. Atlanta hits the away nerfy 85.7% of the time. They're getting close to Baltimore range, but these nerfies are having so many times issue scoring runs. Washington, 88.4% nerfy when they're at home. These two teams are struggling. 3.7 and 3.7. They're tied at runs. No advantage there. Batting average, Atlanta struggling again, 172. Washington, 245. Strikeouts, 8.3 for Atlanta, 5.3 for Washington. So we got numbers favoring Washington, but yet we got almost a 175 favor on the money line. Why? Well, let's look at the pitching matchup. Lopez is a beast. We will say that. 173 with a 108. You can see he doesn't have a bad game in May. Dude has just been balling out. So, yeah, great games here. Looking at his counterpart, Parker, he has a trend. Just a nice, obvious trend. 3, 3, 3, 3. He's going to give up 3 runs probably. So with the way the stats are, everything's lined up. The only thing I'm going to take in this game, because the data tells me so, is the nerfy. That's all I want to do. 6 simple outs, as they say. Because with 85% Atlanta and 88% Washington, and Atlanta struggling with the batting average, and they're both only getting 3.7 runs, I will take that chance on nerfy. Why not? They're not all going to hit. I know this, but we're going to take it. We're not going to take a side. I don't trust Atlanta. Washington could very easily win this game. But Lopez will give them the best chance, but I just don't want to put 175 on it. I don't even want to put him in the money line parlay. Pass on that. We don't want to do a total. So we'll just do the nerfy and move on to the next game. Next up, Minnesota and New York Yankees. Lopez with a 484 against Stroman with a 273. Betting Marcus. Yankees 165. 8.5 your total. A little bit of juice on that under. Looking at the data. 43.5 nerfy, not what we're talking about. Advantages, Yankees are going to have some heavy advantages like they have in the last couple games. They've hit the money line and the run line the last 2 games against Minnesota. I expect the same today. 7 runs a game for New York versus 3.3 for Minnesota. Heavy advantage New York. Batting averages is 100 points different. 163 for Minnesota for 28th in the last 3 games. They've been in the bottom 3 for the last 2 weeks in batting average. They're terrible. They can't, nothing. No, I want to say garbage. That's where we're going to go with. That's the word we're going to use for Minnesota's batting here recently. New York, 265 in the last 3 games for 6. Strikeout wise, Minnesota, 10.3. Yankees, 9. Advantage, slight advantage New York. So heavy advantages there. In my opinion, we have pretty heavy advantage when it comes to pitching. As you can see, 484 versus 273. I'll take the advantage New York. We will look at the pitching, though, to see if anything stands out. And we can see a bad game for Stroman was May 9th against Houston, get 4 runs. Outside of that, beast, 2 runs. Stroman's got this. Looking at Lopez, though, he had 2 games. He gave up 6. He gave up 7. Washington and Texas got to him. They're not the top offenses at all. They're middle of the road, if not lower tier when he played these teams. So, but he did have a good game against Houston. We'll give him that. He played decent here. So, but he gave up 10 hits to the Yankees when they played on May 15th. They only got 3 runs out of it, but he gave up 10. So that's concerning. And what happens when the batters face a pitcher for the second time around? The batters have the advantage. So we're definitely taking New York on the... We're going to take New York on the money line for sure. We're going to take New York on the run line again for the 3rd straight day. We're not going to take a total. I don't really want to take... I'm not going to take a strikeout prop because you can see that Stroman's not really a strikeout dude. There's games 2 and 3, not worth doing. So we're going to pass on strikeout props. Just take New York run line, New York money line. Call it a day. Next game. Next up, we got the Cubs and the Reds. We got Assad with a 227 and Green with a 344. Betting Marcus have the over-under at 9.5. We have the Reds as a moneyline favorite at home at 125. The data shows us that the nerfy is 59.8. Not what we're talking about. Both offenses are clicking, especially Cincy. I mean, I know it helps when you play Colorado and you get to put up a lot of runs in Coors. It happens. But there's still 9.7 runs a game for first, 7.3 in the past week, 5.3 in the past 2 weeks. The Reds' offense has been on fire. Their batting average is crazy. I don't care where you play. Being able to hit the ball matters most. 372 as a team for first in the past 3 games. Now the Cubs aren't that bad. 5.3 runs per 7, 245 for batting average for 11th. Strikeouts, though, they're striking out 9 versus 5.7. So we have clear advantages for Cincy, but the Cubs aren't bad on offense here. So looking at the pitching matchups, we have Assad, whose last game was against the Reds, and he gave up 5 hits and 2 runs, but has 7 strikeouts. He is pretty steady outside of his St. Louis game. So the 227, 118, it all makes sense. Nothing really stands out here. We know what we're getting with Assad. Hunter Green got a little bit rocked. 5 earned runs, only 3 hits, but 5 walks isn't good. That ain't gonna help you. So in his last game against the Cubs last week. So we see what happens here. And again, when you face someone, batter pitcher, batter has the advantage next time you play, especially when you just played last week for both these pitchers. So the one thing I am definitely looking at is we're going to the data. We see a lot of runs. We're going to the total, but 9.5, I'm taking the over. We got pitchers, hitters, advantages for hitters in the second time seeing them. 2 offenses that are getting 5.3 and 9.7 runs a game, 245 batting and 372 batting. We're taking the over in this one. Now on the side, I don't... the pitching match was pretty close in this one. Cincy has clear advantages here. We will take Cincy on the money line just because their numbers are so insane right now. I don't care if it was Coors Field. You got to be able to put the contact bat on ball. That doesn't matter where you are. You got to be able to do that. 372 as a team is insane. I'm going to ride that right now. So we'll take Cincy money line, the over 9.5, and move on to the next game. Next up, we got the Sox versus the Sox. We got Hawk with a 185 against Woodford with a 623. Betting markets, 240 Red Sox on the money line, over under 8.5 with some juice on the under. Data shows us that the Nerfy is 61.5, not worth talking about. 5.3 runs a game for Boston, 5 runs a game for Chicago. Not much of an advantage here. Batting averages, 252 Boston, 265 Chicago. Slight advantage Chicago, of all things. And they're both striking out a lot, 25th to 29th. We will look at K props for both of the pitchers. Speaking of pitching, let's see what we got here for Boston. Hawks coming out with a 185, the third best ERA, 0.96 whip. Game log, we see 1-1-0-1-3-3. He doesn't give up much recently. He's been on fire. Couple games, he barely even gives up hits. Now he's facing the White Sox batting order. I like that. Looking at Woodford, his game log, 6.23. He has 1 game. That's all we have. He has pitched a total of 4.1 innings. He's 4 Ks, 2 walks. That's not much. We need more data on this. So we're heavily going to lean Boston in this one. They're going to go into moneyline parlay just because the pitching matchup alone in this one. Strikeout props. Woodford struck out 4. We'll look at it. If it's something stupid low, we'll probably look at it. We'll take it. But if not, we're going to pass on his. Hawks, on the other hand, 6, 7, 5, 7, 4, 5. We see what he does. We'll look at Chicago, his prop as well. If his prop is somewhere around, say, 5.5, yeah, I'll probably take that too. But if not, we'll pass on it. Pass on things that you're not really confident in. There's no need to rush, no need to push anything here. So we'll look at those. Boston money line for sure because of the pitching matchup. Outside of that, there's nothing really stands out. Tells me neither side is dominating these stats. So 260 doesn't make a lot of sense. If anything, breaking these down, I might just look at strikeout props because Chicago's on a 13-game losing streak. They're going to break that streak eventually. They're at home against Boston, who just dominated the Braves yesterday. Now I think about it, I'm just talking myself out of betting them now. So we're going to look at Hawks strikeout prop and Woodford strikeout props. We'll see what they are. But outside of that, we're not going to take a money line. We're not going to take a total. We're not going to take a Nervy. We're going to pass on those. Last game on the docket, Arizona, San Diego. Saccone with a 5.6 and Vasquez with a 5.74. Ooh, 2 super high ERA pitchers going up against each other. Ooh, that should be a high total, right? Nope, 8.5 with some juice on the under. Winner, money line, minus 125 for the Padres at home. But the data tells us Arizona's numbers look better. Nerfy, not worth 57 is not good enough. We don't talk about that. 5 runs a game for Arizona for 10th. Batting 304 for 4th in the last 3 games. Meanwhile, San Diego is batting 214 for 21st and only scoring 1.7 runs a game, which is 29th. San Diego is struggling right now offensively. Arizona's not. They're thriving. They're doing good. Strikeouts, 9.7 for Arizona. San Diego just doesn't strike out. There's too disciplined, 4.3. But it doesn't help if you can't hit the ball and get on base and score runs. So looking at pitching matchups, we got 2 high ERAs. Saccone has a 5.59 with a 105 whip. Decent game against the Mets in his last game, but got rocked back-to-back. And then this game here too. he gets rocked. So it could happen. You're facing San Diego now, who's struggling. Either San Diego's going to take this advantage and break out a little bit, or they're going to continue to be garbage, and Slay's going to have a Oakland game from yesterday. We're going to get a perfect game notification in the 6th inning. Who knows with this? So Vasquez, 5.74, 1.61 whip. 3 runs for him is a decent game. Decent game. Gave up 10 hits and 3 to Atlanta. Gave up 5 runs to Colorado. So we know what we're getting here. We have 2 pitchers that are prone to give up some runs, but yet we have a total of 8.5. I will be paying that. I will be taking the plus 100 over 8.5 in this one. I don't care that San Diego's struggling so mightily in offense. I think Arizona can handle it for me. They can do all the heavy lifting. We will even look at Arizona team total and see what it is. If it's somewhere like 4.5, yeah, we'll take Arizona team total over on that as well. We're not going to take a side. I don't trust either side in this one because of 2 terrible pitchers. I know Arizona's stats are better, but with pitching the way it is, I need some kind of advantage. So we're going to look at over and Arizona team over, and that's it. That's it. 10 games, all broken down, stats given. If you have been making money, drop in the comments. Let me know how you've been doing. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.